Hey guys, so today we're going to talk about minivans, specifically in North America, because they're really different from the rest of the world, and it'd be a lot easier for me to just focus on them. So we're going to focus on just the history of minivans in North America, because it's a lot less complicated, but also more complicated at the same time. It's just a lot less complicated than doing all of them at the same time, you know? So let's get right into it. So it all started back in the late 70s when Chrysler started a development program to design a small and affordable van that looked and handled more like a car. And the result of this program was the S platform, which basically created the first American minivans, and those were the 1984 Plymouth Voyager and 1984 Dodge Caravan. And these minivans basically debuted the features that basically most minivans have today, which is front-wheel drive, a flat floor, and the sliding door for rear passengers. And the term minivan basically was used to compare the size of these vans to full-size vans, which were basically used to say they were smaller vans. And they were basically designed as a smaller van, so particularly for passengers. And they were basically the thing that overshadowed the station wagons. These basically went out of use because of them. And Ford wanted to, actually no, not just Ford. Ford and General Motors wanted to catch on to this new thing that was created by Chrysler, you know. And basically, so they decided to, GM first decided to release the 1985 Chevy Astro and the GMC Ferrari, which are basically the same vehicles, just different badges. And then Ford released the 1986 Aerostar, which both of the GM and Ford minivans used rear-wheel drive, unlike the Voyager and Caravan. And basically, then this also led to a response of Japanese manufacturers who wanted to also catch on to the market in North America. And so Toyota made the Toyota van, Nissan made the Vanette. I know, very, very creative names here, you know, really, really deep and descriptive. And then the Mitsubishi Delica to North America. And those were in 1984, 1986, and 1987. And they were marketed with the generic van and wagon names for cargo and passenger vans, for, you know, van, cargo, wagon, passenger. And then Mazda also wanted to catch on, and Mazda basically made the first Japanese brand minivan that was developed from the ground up specifically for North America. And it was the 1989 Mazda MPV, and it had a larger chassis for an optional V6 and four-wheel drive. And it didn't have any sliding doors, instead had a hinged passenger side door. And then they had a driver's side entry that was added later in 96. And this design slowly got phased out, and basically Mazda kind of remarketed the line to an early crossover SUV. And by the end of the 80s, the demand for minivans had increased why can't I say that? Substantially. Significantly, or whatever. And they basically replaced, where did I throw it? I threw it on the floor for some reason. They replaced these guys almost completely. You didn't see, basically, in the 90s, these were kind of not being made anymore. You still saw them, though, probably. And, yeah, so now let's move on to the 90s. So, in the 90s, the minivans went under a lot of really, really big changes. And basically, almost all of them switched to front-wheel drive. And then, the Ford replaced their Aerostar with the front-wheel drive Mercury Villager in 93 and the Ford Windstar in 95. And the models also increased in size because they gained an extended wheelbase, also known as the Grand versions, like the Grand Voyager and Caravan. And those were launched in 87. And there was an increase in the luxury, like, things and designs inside of the interiors, which were seen inside the things like the Chrysler Town and Country in 1990, and also the 1990 Oldsmobile Silhouette. And the Plymouth Voyager, Dodge Caravan, and Chrysler Town and Country, all their third generations, that released for the 96 model year had an additional sliding door on the driver's side. And basically, after the 1990 discontinuation of the Nissan Vanette in the U.S., Nissan also ended the sale of their other minivan, the Nissan Access. And basically, Nissan re-entered the segment by forming a joint venture with Ford to develop and assemble a minivan that became the Nissan Quest and its Mercury Village counterpart. And then Toyota introduced the Toyota Previa in 1990 to replace the van/wagon in North America. It was designed specifically just as a passenger vehicle size to compete with the American market minivans. And in 1998, the Toyota Sienna became the first Japanese brand minivan assembled in North America, replacing the Toyota Previa in that market. And my favorite part about the early Toyota Siennas is they're just so blobby. They're just a big blob. It's so funny. And then, basically, then in 1999, Honda introduced a separate version of their Odyssey for the North American market. And basically, it got a larger vehicle with sliding doors. Now let's move on to 2000s and 2010s. And basically, 2000 was when minivans hit their peak. It was in 2000 where 1.4 million units were sold. That's the highest amount per year of minivans sold in the U.S. During 1 year. But in the following years, they began to decrease. Like in 2013, they reached probably 500,000. And then the market share in 2019 reached around 2%. And then when the segment recorded above 6% share, it had been suggested that the failing popularity of minivans is due to the increasing popularity of SUVs and crossovers, and basically the undesirable image for a vehicle for older drivers or the soccer mom demographics. And then basically from 2000 onward, minivan manufacturers adopted boxier, square-based interior designs and began offering more advanced equipment, such as power doors and liftgates, as well as seating that folded flat into the floor, and like things like DVD, VCR, like TV entertainment systems inside the cars. And then you got also in-dash and navigation and rear view cameras. But those two last ones were really only offered in the really high-end trims. But and they also had parking sensors. And the Quest and Sedona only echoed these changes in their third and second respective generations. At the same time, Chrysler introduced the fold flat seating in 2005 under the trademark Stellango, and Mazda's MPV did not feature power doors and was discontinued in 2017. And then, due to the market decline, North American sales of the Volkswagen Eurovan ceased in 2003. Ford exited the minivan segment in 2006 when the Ford Freestar was canceled, and Chrysler discontinued its short wheelbase minivans in 2007. And then GM left the market segment in 2009 with the cancellation of the Chevrolet Uplander. And then Volkswagen, however, marketed the Volkswagen Routan, a rebadged Chrysler RT minivan, between 2009 and 2013. In 2010, Ford started importing the commercial-oriented Ford Transit Connect wagon from Turkey. A similar vehicle, the Mercedes-Benz Metris, entered the North American market in 2016. And then the Kia Sedona, which was introduced in the 2002 model year, is notable for being the first minivan from a South Korean manufacturer in the region. And in 2007, Kia also introduced the three-row Kia Rondo compact MPV, whereas prominently marketed as a crossover due to its small size and use of hinged rear doors. Then another compact MPV released to the market was the Mazda 5 in 2004, a three-row vehicle with sliding rear doors. And Mazda claimed that this doesn't really fit the MPV standards or multi-passenger vehicle standards. And basically, after that, vans started to become much more luxury vehicles kind of here, like in North America. It kind of became much more expensive, and now are more just oriented towards SUVs now you buy, because you can just get a really big one like our Chevy Suburban for not that much more money, for a lot cheaper money, and honestly it's bigger, but I guess sometimes people just want, yeah. So that's probably about it. So thank you for watching. all the sources from this, everything I've read here, has come from Wikipedia. So that's where you go to find this information. They also have a bunch more information like on Europe, Asia, and all the other different markets. And basically, after, and yeah, I've never personally liked minivans that much. Personally, I just think they're a little weird looking. But I mean, they're fine. They're fine for what they are. But yeah, so thank you for watching. Comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.